Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Convention Seminars News. This is your host, Mireille Broussard. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Mireille Parker, here to explain the purpose of suspense and foreshadowing. Hello! Thank you, Mireille, for bringing me to the show today. Mireille, for the sake of the people who are new to the show, could you please explain to us what a language convention seminar is? Of course! Language convention seminars are the choices we make in language features to help structure our text. The choices vary according to the purpose of the text, its subject matter, the audience, and mode or media of the production. Perfect! Now that we're all on the same page, what is suspense and foreshadowing? What do they add to our understanding of a piece? Suspense and foreshadowing have their resemblances since they both create suspense, but foreshadowing gives hints to the reader as to what will happen next. Breadcrumbs to feed the hungry, if you may. Both of these literary devices create tension and make the read more exciting, all while building curiosity. What differentiates the two? Suspense is the tension the reader feels when they are unsure of an ending, whether it be in a story, chapter, or scene. Unlike foreshadowing, it withholds information from the reader to keep them on their toes all throughout the story. You can imply suspense by heightening tension in a dramatic scene, concealing answers you don't want to give away, building up to a plot twist, making the reader want to keep reading. There are 5 types of suspense: long-term, short-term, mysterious, horrific, and romantic and comedic suspense. The 2 main types of suspense are long-term and short-term. Long-term is when you introduce a problem at the beginning of the story, deepen its significance as the plot progresses, and wrap it up near the end. Short-term is used as a distraction to the long-term suspense. Its purpose is to create a big reaction from the reader, trying to keep them curious minute to minute. Cliffhangers at the end of a scene or chapter is one of the best ways to approach this technique. You cut the reader off at a critical moment. I see. Could you maybe give us some examples? For sure! In To Kill a Mockingbird, there's long-term suspense. 2 problems, or arcs, are introduced separately at the beginning of the story. We follow Tom Robinson and Boo Radley individually, but their stories collide at the end, answering our questions. The suspense is created since we don't know how the story will end. For short-term suspense, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, a chapter is cut off with Draco Malfoy screaming and running away from a hooded figure who is approaching Harry. J.K. Rowling ends her chapter with, "It got to its feet and came swiftly towards Harry. He couldn't move for fear." This leaves us wondering what will happen next, therefore making us want to keep reading. That's great, but what's the difference between this and foreshadowing? Glad you asked. Foreshadowing can be a form of suspense since it does exactly this in a story. However, as stated before, it gives subtle hints to the reader so that they don't get impatient and quit reading before the end. It also helps prepare them for the big reveal. Really? How can this be done? In literature, there are 5 ways to add foreshadowing to your story: the title, the setting, the dialogue, metaphors and similes, and character traits. The title is very straightforward. It can give the reader an idea of what they're about to read. For example, The Fall of Romeo and Juliet, hinting at their deaths. The setting is almost like pathetic fallacy. For example, a storm can indicate what kind of dramatic event will happen in the future. Dialogue can be used to foreshadow future events and may take form of a joke or an offhand comment. For example, "My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting of thy love." This foreshadows Romeo's death by suicide due to the loss of his love Juliet. By making comparisons, the reader can attain different meanings that are hidden in the similes and metaphors. For example, comparing a character to a fox, meaning that they may betray someone further on in the story. Finally, a character's appearance, attire, or mannerisms can foreshadow the character's true essence or later action. In Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, J.K. Rowling describes the turban on Professor Quirrell's head and points Harry's curiosity about it. Later on, we find out that the turban hides Quirrell's possession by Voldemort. Well, folks, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning in with us, and thank you, Mireille, for your help. We'll see you all next week. Good night.